You have been covering these for years and years. How did today feel relative to years past?
This was, another Apple event, but nothing really earth-shattering today, right? I mean, it's been a while since Apple has come out with an entirely new hardware product that changed the game. The most surprising thing today was really around pricing of TV Plus, Apple Arcade, the $50 price reduction on the iPhone 11, as you mentioned. But in terms of hardware functionality, nothing really to write home about.
Ryan, let me bring you in here. Talk to me about the iPhone, because as we know, it still makes up a decent amount of top line for the company. What was your biggest takeaway as it comes to the iPhone?
No, I think I agree with Mark. To be honest, not to sort of beat this drum, but I think that's the storyline today. It's all about pricing, right? So on the hardware side, we start with iPhone, as Mark sort of mentioned. You've mentioned the $50 price cut from where we were with the XR. I think Apple's, to be honest, in my opinion, them leading with services partnerships that came out between Arcade and News, and then obviously getting to lower cost iPhone pricing and even watch pricing, I think just shows that, they see that we pushed the threshold of the average consumer pretty high on price points, and that they've got to be cautious of that, right? Because their important thing right now is keeping the install base and making sure that it grows, which I think they're still doing a good job at that.
So Ryan, are they maxed out at a $1,000 iPhone?
So listen, I don't think we'd ever max things out, right? Because keep in mind, starting points are never actually what the highest point actually gets to, right? So we're probably talking upwards of $1,500, $1,600 with the highest configurations. But no, I think that they're going to continue to push things. But I think what they're realizing is that their audience who will actually pay that price to use those features is probably smaller than it was when their highest iPhone price was $800. So, it's sort of a changing of the times. It's not Apple only that's being affected by that. Their main competitors at the top of the market, Samsung and Huawei, are both being affected the same way. So it's sort of just a changing times, in my opinion. But I do think that we'll continue to see, price points that will sit well over $1,000 with iPhones.
So, Mark, I want to come into my terminal here at GTV Go. What we're taking a looking at in white is the average sales price, which is starting to rise a little bit. But along with that, on the right-hand column, is the number of iPhones sold, which is slowly dipping down. What does that tell you about where we are in the cycle?
Yeah, it tells us that there really has been a combination here of rising prices and a decrease, and it's ironic given the invitation today, innovation, right? The changes here are really all about the camera. If you go to Apple's website about the iPhone, 11 Pro, 75% of it is about the new camera functionality. And that's what the past few years have been about. The last time we saw a real breakthrough change to the iPhone was with the iPhone 10 2 years ago. We're expecting bigger changes again next year as the prices are coming down. So I think things are going to start to rebound in about 12 months from now.
Ryan, what do you make of this device no longer being an iPhone, but really a camera that basically just has some audio capabilities?
Yeah, well, I guess it's probably been more than a phone for quite some time, right? But no, it's a good question, and to be honest, I think that the features that they've introduced, some of which have met some people say that like things like night mode have met up to what Google has done and others and so forth, and that's great. I think what's important to recognize is what the average consumer actually does with their camera. And I think, to be honest, with not just for Apple but some of these others, some of the features that they're integrating, a lot of that's done through software, not just modules and number of megapixels and so forth. I don't think personally everyone's actually utilizing that to the full benefit. Having said that, everybody wants the latest and the greatest, right? So I think it's important that they continue to innovate, and clearly they've been a market leader in photography, and they continue to be so.
Mm-hmm. Ryan, the lowest price point comes in at $700. Last year it was $750. Does that concern you as it relates to Apple or the industry?
No, it doesn't concern me, I think, on either. I think, to be honest, like I said, I think if I'm Apple and I'm sitting there looking at the long-term strategy, there's many things going on, right? There's products that we don't know about. There's continuing the product lines they have. I think the main thing for them, though, is making sure that, one, they do not lose their install base, and two, more importantly, they grow it. And I think by recognizing that, hey, there's a large number of users that are frustrated with the price points of smartphones in general, how high they've gone. I think it's perfect for them to play right into the fact to say, hey, listen, we're going to continue to innovate. You can still get a brand new iPhone that's going to be top of the line quality that's not going to be priced at the $1,000 price point or even above, and it's actually going to be a little bit less than that same sort of product line last year with the 10R. So I think the strategy is right. I think it's them recognizing that everybody has to test the waters in terms of like price ceilings for the average consumer, because nobody really knows where that stops. But if you look at the last 5 years, the average selling prices have grown so much in the last 5 years compared to the 10 years leading up to that it's a night and day comparison.
Yeah.
So it had to slow down at some point.
Mark, quickly here, these phones don't have 5G. We won't get 5G until a year from now. So why do I care?
Right. I mean, 5G in the United States is just rolling out now, not a big deal. The real impact, that's going to be in China.